We had a 2-0 day yesterday on the channel. I told you a sweep was coming and we got it yesterday. I've got a few more best bets for you today on the college basketball slate so we can stack up that cheddar today and be ready for NBA that's coming back tomorrow. This is the Free 3. Let's dive into it. What's up, guys? It's your boy Noble Living back with another DYF Bets video where I'm bringing out my favorite picks and plays of the day as we just try to get to the bag together and make some money. Like I mentioned, we went 2-0 on the day yesterday. You love to see it. We cashed in on our money line parlay. Texas Tech gets it done late. It was a sweat, but we get it done. And then we also cashed in on St. Mary's to kind of close out that parlay. Now, I did tell you to be on the lookout for BYU live. They did cover their spread, but they did have an opportunity for you to snipe them live as they got down early in that game, just like I said was going to happen. They were down like 12-2, 12-4. So that was your chance to snipe them. They kind of turned it around and held the lead for kind of the remainder of the first half, the end of the first half and second half. But there was opportunities in that first half for you to snipe BYU at that cheaper number. So hopefully you were able to grab that. 2-0 in the day. You can see our year-to-date record right here. To start off the year, we're doing well, crushing it right now in the month of February, killing it in college basketball. NBA comes back tomorrow, so I'm excited for that. We're going to try to be able to build some momentum heading into March Madness and then NBA playoffs. So make sure you guys are liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. And if there's something that you are wanting to hear, like maybe a different type of analysis or maybe less analysis or maybe like a breakdown of all the games instead of just best bets, let me know. Drop it in the comments below so this way I can always improve the content and give you guys what you're looking for. All right, my friends, appreciate all the love and support. Now let's dive into these best bets. For my first best bet of the day, we are going to head to that Dayton and George Mason matchup. And before I kind of give you my side on this game, let me give you kind of an understanding of what's going on here in the A-10. So Dayton was the preseason leader of the A-10. Everyone expects them to win the A-10, and rightfully so. They're the best team in the A-10, and they've been living up to expectations. Right now, they're number one in the conference with an 11-2 conference record. But guess what? It's not all peaches and cream because there's a team right on their tail, and that's Loyola Chicago. Not a lot of people were expecting Loyola Chicago to be tied for second or tied for first in the conference right now, but they find themselves with an 11-2 conference record themselves. In third, we've got Richmond at 10-2, so just a game back, and then we've got VCU in fourth at a 9-4 record in conference play. So you can see the top four teams in the A-10 absolutely loaded. Now we've got Dayton that's traveling to George Mason, who's 6-6 in conference, and they have a huge conference game, obviously, and they have Loyola Chicago coming into town in 10 days. So that game right there against Loyola Chicago can determine who gets the number one seed in the A-10 tournament. So everything will be on the line. So because of that today, when I'm researching this game, I really like Dayton to win this game just because of the situation, what's at stake. They have something to play for now. They're not 2-3 games ahead of the conference like they were in the past. Now they really have to make sure they're not dropping games that they shouldn't lose, because before they know it, they could not drop just from the one spot. Richmond, like I said, is just a game behind, and they have a game in hand because they're 10-2 in conference, while Dayton and Loyola Chicago are 11-2 in conference. Before you know it, Dayton can drop all the way down to the 3 seed if they're not careful, if they just lose a game that they must win. So because of that today, I see a short spread here. I'm going to take Dayton -2, -115 odds. If you want to take them on the money line, be my guest. And like I mentioned, it's really because of the angle, the situation, and also just a short line. I get it. Dayton's on the road, so the home team typically gets a few points when they're at home. But this is the thing about this George Mason team, right? Don't get me wrong. They've been impressive this year. Tony Skinn, he's done a great job in his first year as the head coach, kind of turning around that program, getting them back to their winning ways. They started off the season really well, 13-2 to start off the season for the Patriots. But since then, they've kind of sputtered in conference play, and before you know it, they've lost 6 of their last 10 games. That's kind of tough. Now that you've got a Dayton team coming into town that's ranked in the top 20th in both offensive efficiency and three-point field goal percentage, and then defensively, they're in the top 70 in both defending the rim and the three-point line. That's a very tough task for this George Mason team to be able to really keep up with. George Mason is pretty decent on the offensive side of the ball, 92nd in offensive efficiency, and they have a solid defense, 107. But the thing that George Mason does really well is they draw a lot of fouls, they get to the free throw line, and they hit their free throws. Well, this is the thing. Dayton doesn't foul a lot. That's not the way they play. They play tough defense. They try to force you into help side. They're not reaching. They're not gambling. They force you into turnovers. So for me today, I think it's just going to be a struggle for George Mason. I get George Mason's at home, so they have that advantage. But I think because of that, we have the short line at -2, which you typically never get with Dayton, especially in the A-10, especially against another mid-major conference team. And like I said, the situation is, if they lose this game, Loyola Chicago has a chance to get the number one seed. They're not going to let that happen. This is a veteran Dayton team that's very well coached. I'm not going going into all the numbers and all the different things. You can do that yourself. But Dayton is the better team in the situation coming down the back stretch of the college basketball season. That's what we're trying to handicap. We said that yesterday in the BYU game. We said that yesterday in the Texas Tech game. So there's just certain situations now where you just have to kind of play the angle based on what's at stake. And some of these games are literally one-game playoffs. I'm not going to say they're just one-game playoffs, but they just have that type of intensity and magnitude to them. Because if you lose to a George Mason team that's 6-6 in conference, this doesn't really benefit them. They move maybe 1 or 2 slots from a 6th seed up to a 5th seed. But in the A10 tournament, as a 1 seed, a 2 seed, 3 seed, you could be dropping from a 1st and 2nd round bye, let alone have to face a decent team. Next thing you know, Dayton drops to a 3 seed. They have to face VCU in a 3-4 game if the standings uphold. You see what I'm saying? So they definitely don't want to drop that game today. So give me Dayton -2 on the money line as the short line today as our first best bet of the day. Now for our second best bet of the day, you guys know where I'm going. I got to give you a money line parlay. Every time I say that I'm done with these, I always just run back to them because some of these spreads are just kind of huge. I'm not gonna lie. I don't have any problem laying 6.5, 5.5, 7.5 points, but it's just tough sometimes in conference to lay that many points confidently. We saw that yesterday in Texas A&M losing outright. We saw that in Tennessee. They had like 11-point, 12-point spread. They were covering late, and guess what? They didn't cover. It's just tough to win some of these huge spreads in conference, and we have a lot of games today with really big spreads, so I got to do a little bit more research to see which ones I'm going to go with. Don't get me wrong. We have a lot of great games today. Alabama, Florida, Miami, Duke, Charlotte, and Memphis. But some of these spreads, 5.5, 6.5 points in Memphis and Charlotte, 7.5, 8.5 for Alabama, Florida. I'm just not laying that many points off rip, so that's why I keep going to these moneyline parlays. And today's moneyline parlay is 2 teams that I think should handle business. One's on the road, one's at home, but we're going USF on the road, and then we're going to go with New Mexico at home. Parlay those 2 teams together, get to -108 odds. Now, I know I normally give you +100 odds on these parlays, but I'm not trying to add too many legs to these because I've been getting one leg a lot, or one team that's a huge favorite like Michigan State blew a lot of tickets for me yesterday, right? I'm not trying to add too much. Even Texas A&M blew a few tickets for me too. But I'm not trying to add too many legs because of the fact that, we're seeing what's happening in conference play. Teams are just losing. They get upset at home. They're losing they're 8-9 point favorites and they're still losing. So because of that, I'm just going to go with 2 teams that need to handle business today, okay? USF has been the biggest shock of everybody. Well, not really to me, because I've been following them all year. Shout out to Chris Youngblood there and the rest of the members of that USF team. But they find themselves 12-1 in conference, 19-5 overall, number 1 seed right now in the American Conference. Yes, number 1 seed over FAU, over Memphis, over Charlotte, which has been a shocker as well, over SMU, over UAB. USF is the number 1 team right there in this conference. I'm talking about this is the USF team that lost 3 games in a row early in the year to Hofstra, to Maine, and to UMass. They also lost to Central Michigan. But guess what? They're 12-1 in conference. Only conference loss came in earlier in conference play to UAB. I like them today in today's matchup because they're taking on a UTSA team that sucks, okay? They're 2-11 in conference. They're 8-18 overall. They have one of the worst defenses in all of college basketball, ranked 357 defensive efficiency. They don't stop anybody, okay? They don't turn over the ball. They don't stop the 3-point line. They suck. And guess what? Now we're getting 4 or 5 points with USF. The line's actually moved in favor of UTSA, which I don't agree with. If it keeps dropping, then you get this money line even cheaper. They've dropped 6 games in a row. The only 2 wins that they have in conference is one to Tulane, which was an upset win by 1 point at home, and then was to Rice in overtime. USF, the way that they're playing, I get it. It's a letdown spot following last game's big win against FAU. I understand the situation, college basketball-wise. Andrew on the road, it's a letdown spot. I get it. But UTSA, if USF loses this game to UTSA today, they blow the conference. Because you know who they have coming up next? They've got SMU. They have to go to Charlotte. Then they have to play Tulane. Then they have to go at Tulsa. Okay? Tulsa, we're not really worried about. But at Charlotte and SMU, that's tough. You can't lose these games with these other teams right on your back. So that's why I'm backing USF today. Just how bad UTSA's defense has been all year. They've been losing all year. I'm just expecting USF to win. Just take them on the money line. Now, New Mexico. The Mountain West Conference has been a conference that we've been featuring pretty heavily on the channel over the last 2-3 weeks because of what's going on in that race there. Absolutely yonkers. Literally 6 teams right now are fighting for that number 1, number 2, number 3 spots. It's crazy. And it's actually making for some great basketball. But another trend that you guys might not know in the Mountain West Conference is home teams win and home teams are covering. There's only 2 or 3 teams in the Mountain West that are not profitable at home this year. You know what teams those are? Air Force, San Jose State, and I think Fresno State. I'm not 100% sure about Fresno State. And the reason why I'm not 100% sure is because Air Force and San Jose State are the bottom 2 teams in the league. And I know for sure they have a losing record at home. But the top teams all have been covering at home, all have a winning record at home, all are covering against the spread at home, and that is why I like New Mexico today. They're taking on a Colorado State team that has struggled on the road. Colorado State is a good team, but when they play away from home, they struggle. And you know what's one of the toughest places to play in all of college basketball? The place that they call the Pit. That's right, that's where New Mexico plays. Their home court advantage is so strong that Ken Pom ranks it 7th in all of college basketball in terms of the strongest home court advantages, okay? They play fast, 6th in the country in tempo, 31st in offensive efficiency, so they're pretty efficient playing that fast. They're 30th in defensive efficiency, so they're very good on the defensive side of the ball. They force a lot of turnovers, top 40 in all of college basketball. They don't turn over the ball a lot, top 30 in turnover rate on the offensive side. They shoot the ball well from inside, and they shoot it from a decent clip from the outside. I like New Mexico in this game today at home, plus it's a revenge angle. They played Colorado State earlier this year, 76-68. They lost. That was actually the first game of the conference for them earlier this year. Got smacked by them by 8 points on the road. Now this is your revenge spot at home in a game that you really have to win because you beat Colorado State. You beat one of the teams that are trying to get a position from you for those top 1, 2, 3, 4 seeds. So because of that, you beat Colorado State. This isn't the same thing with like USF and UTSA, right? Like USF loses, they're still going to be in a decent position. UTSA, whatever happens to them, whatever. I mean, they're at the bottom of the conference anyway, right? Like, but New Mexico, they beat Colorado State. They're moving up. Colorado State's going down. There's separation happened there, okay? Colorado State's good. 33 in offensive efficiency, 34th in defensive efficiency. They shoot the ball from two-pointer really well. 8th in all of college basketball in terms of 2-point percentage on the offensive side. But for me, they struggled on the road. They've lost to San Diego State on the road. That was their last road game. Lost that game 71-55. We got smacked last Tuesday. They lost to Wyoming at the road, who sucks, okay? And they're nowhere near as good as New Mexico. Lost that game 79-76. They lost to Nevada on the road, 77-64. They've lost to Boise State on the road, 65-58. They've lost to Utah State on the road, 77-72. So all 5 of their conference losses have come on the road. Now, with so much on the line, New Mexico is at home today. Can't lay the 5.5, 6 points. I'm going to try to snipe it live a little cheaper at 2.5, 1.5, maybe other money line value. But I think New Mexico comes out today. They jump on Colorado State. Just all the numbers are saying to take New Mexico of how they play at home. Also, it's a bounce back spot for New Mexico after losing to San Diego State on the road in their last game, 81-70. I like New Mexico to handle business today. I'm just noticing that I have that wrong on the graphic there. So please mind that. It's not Nevada. It is New Mexico. So take New Mexico on the money line today. Parlay that with USF on the money line. Guess the minus 108 odds. If you're looking for a little bit of extra juice, if you add ETSU, who's playing VMI, who's like one of the worst teams in all college basketball there in the SoCon, you can add them. That gets plus 100 value. Or you can add St. Joseph's as well. That would get you the plus 100 value if you just want a 3-team team to get plus 100 value. But we're going with these 2 teams as our second best bet of the day. Well, that's it for me today, my friends. Just 2 best bets coming your way. Trying to keep it a little bit light until we get that NBA slate back here. Just have a few more options to go with. And then also the money can be spread out as well. That's another big thing. When you only have like one sport on, all the money floods in on certain games, certain teams. And because of that, the lines move significantly. That's why we're seeing a lot of the line movement that we've seen over the last few days. So once we get NBA back, we should get that money spread out a little bit further, which should be a big help for some of these college basketball lines. And we should probably drop them down a little bit as well. So we're just going to go with those 2 best bets today. Give me Dayton -2. Give me the money line parlay of New Mexico and USF. That should get us over the hump. If you want more best bets and more picks plays, I'm going to add throughout the day. Click the link to join the free Discord group. And once you get in there, say what's up. Introduce yourself. Like I get this notification of like, hey, welcome to this new member, but I don't ever see anybody talking too much. So drop a hey, what's up? Drop what your favorite plays are, your sports. So this way I can tell you, keep the conversation going. I appreciate all the love and support. As always, let's get to that money, dictate your fate, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Later, guys.